have decided we really need camps for adults. And we need the kind of camps that you all run. I mean, really, where, you know, none of the serious stuff, none of the, you know, life challenge stuff, more fun. I think we have a huge fun deficit in America. And we need to figure out how to fill that fun deficit, certainly for our kids, but also for the rest of us. You know, we've become, in so many ways, a country that has slowly but surely figured out how to get along with more people from more backgrounds. But there are still differences that we need to get over. You know, I said the other day at an event that, you know, we're much less racist, sexist, homophobic, all of those things. But we sure don't want to spend time with anybody who we disagree with politically. I mean, that is just too stressful. So, you know, maybe mix it up a little bit. You know, you can have the red cabin, the blue cabin, have to come together and actually listen to each other. Wouldn't that be a novel idea? And sort of create this, you know, much more open dialogue opportunity, which I would like to see more of in our country.
Good morning to all. And it is a true pleasure to be in America's heartland. And it is most appropriate that I should come to Arkansas to participate in this ceremony. But first, of course, my respects to Sam Walton and to Helen Walton, one of God's truly special people. We come here to honor a man who shows that through hard work and vision and treating people right, many good things can happen. This visit is not about Sam Walton's wealth. He's earned his money, and that's his business. He's been generous with his fortune, and that is in the great tradition of America's commitment to this concept of freedom.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to Sam M. Walton.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Wal-Mart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local police or sheriff. If you need help, ask a Wal-Mart manager for assistance. Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
vast, desolate wilderness, a place populated by shadows of the dead in their multitudes, a place where the living are dead, where only death, hate, and pain exist. Juliana Tedeschi. Auschwitz is universally recognized as the ultimate symbol of evil, the world's largest death factory. It is estimated that approximately 1.1 million people were murdered there, of whom 1 million were Jews. From a single camp in 1940, Auschwitz was transformed into a massive complex, including 3 main camps and 40 subcamps. The establishment of the Auschwitz complex was a project that lasted years and was never completed. In the course of the planning phase, SS draftsmen prepared hundreds of drawings and plans of the construction sites and the various buildings. These included detailed drawings of the gas chambers and the crematoria. The Germans established the first camp at Auschwitz in the spring of 1940. It was the first concentration camp to be set up in Poland, and the first prisoners were brought there in June of the same year. In early 1941, the petrochemical corporation IG Farben decided to establish a huge factory there for the production of synthetic rubber and fuel. The SS agreed to supply the corporation with cheap labor to build the factory and later to man it. As the construction of the factory progressed, a small labor camp was set up next to it named Monowitz, which was later called Auschwitz III. After the German invasion of the Soviet Union, the Germans decided to establish an immense prisoner of war camp next to the main camp for the many Soviet soldiers who had been taken captive. This camp was called Auschwitz II, better known as Birkenau. Naftali Laulavi, a survivor of the camp, recalls, "The workplace we arrived at was an extensive green area, swampy in parts. We poured gravel over the swampy section and dispersed it with shovels. Others drained the area by digging water ditches along its length and breadth. Around us, a few hundred meters away, we could see farmers' houses, and next to them, cattle, chickens, and geese. A wretched-looking village, most of its houses roofed with straw. This village was called Brzezinka, Birkenau in German. It never crossed anyone's mind that we were actually laying the foundations for the largest death factory in human history." The preparation of the land for construction, and later the building itself, were carried out by thousands of Soviet prisoners of war and Polish and Jewish inmates who worked under German supervision. The labor conditions were appalling, and the death rate of the prisoners was especially high in winter. Most of the buildings in Birkenau were uniform wooden huts that were unfit for human habitation. They did not have an efficient drainage system or insulation against the bitter cold. They were originally intended to house some 550 prisoners each, but in practice many more prisoners were crammed inside. The severe overcrowding in the huts caused unspeakable sanitary conditions and led to a high death rate amongst the prisoners living in them. Rudolf Vrba, a prisoner of Auschwitz who later managed to escape, recalls, "The more inmates there were, the more deaths ensued, and not always as a result of beatings, hunger, or murder. The sanitation arrangements, which were inadequate from the very beginning, became positively dangerous. Dysentery, which had always posed a threat, spread throughout the camp, followed by the even more hazardous typhus. Shortly after construction had begun at Birkenau, the decision was made to change its designation and turn it into an extermination camp. The first experiments with gas were carried out in the main camp in the fall of 1941, and in the light of their success, the SS decided to build 4 permanent installations in Birkenau for the specific purpose of gassing people to death. The extermination installations each included a room for undressing and a gas chamber, both underground, and a building for cremating the bodies of the murdered. These facilities made the murder of the Jews a far more efficient process. The extermination reached its peak in the spring and summer of 1944, with the deportation of some 430,000 Hungarian Jews to the camp and the subsequent murder of the majority of the deportees. During this period, the pressure on the extermination machinery was so great that the Germans also reactivated the makeshift gas chambers that had been operating before the permanent installations were built. The construction work at the Auschwitz complex continued until November 1944. At this point, Himmler gave the order to halt the extermination of the Jews at Birkenau, and the Germans began to dismantle the extermination facilities in order to conceal all traces of their crime. Despite this, when the Red Army arrived on January 27, 1945, most of the Birkenau camp was still intact. The Germans incinerated the camp archives shortly before the Soviets arrived, but missed the construction archive. As a result, the Soviets found a considerable amount of the technical paperwork, including many of the construction blueprints. From no other extermination camp did so much paperwork survive, including detailed documents about the extermination facilities. The Auschwitz construction blueprints thus constitute extraordinary documentation of the manner in which a major building operation served as a central tool of Nazi extermination policy. These blueprints were discovered in Germany in 2008 and were recently presented to Yad Vashem by the German newspaper Bild in the presence of Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin.
Goes all the way to Washington, D.C., huh? Goes all the way to Washington, D.C. Yeah, you Homeland Security? Yeah. How far have you taken this down to, how far have you actually ran a load? 100 miles? Up to Maine? No shit. How many miles do you think that is? Man, that's unbelievable. Not to mention, I heard there's one that goes all the way to Colorado, right? Unbelievable. What do you think you're hauling? Any idea? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Crack makes all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't really know.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of military stuff being hauled around lately, that's for sure, huh?
Yeah, but not in here. We deliver to military.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. 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 Well, I appreciate I heard there's water supply, food supply, everything's in there. Yeah, unbelievable.
You don't get no cell phone service.
No. Peace, brother. Basically, you got an underground roadway system here that runs all the way to Maine, to Washington, D.C., to Colorado. It's fully stocked. It runs completely underground. And you can see they've been hauling tons of military equipment. You know, they're stocking all these bases. Now, the other thing is the railroad system here is also very strategic. They're bringing in boxcar loads, and they're dump shipping here, and they can really deliver to all these locations, which these locations go all the way to Area 51. These locations go all the way to Washington, D.C. There's access underneath the White House to this location, okay? So this is a strategic location, which is really the new command center for the Illuminati and the United States government. Well, forget the United States government. This is a headquarters for the Illuminati. This is where they'll ship most of their supplies. When they go underground, they around for quite some time. And this is stocked with food, water, everything they need. It's an underground city.
And there's smoke coming from it. Foot wide and approximately 12 inches deep hole in her front yard. She says that it seems to be some sort of a tunnel and there's smoke coming from it.
People talking about this, a loud noise, emergencies calls, all this in Dodge County, people wondering, what was it?
Yeah, what caused this boom? Was it a force of nature or a different kind of force?
What's this sound? I'm in North Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm at Craig Ranch Regional Park. I just happened to be rolling by, and my daughter says, "What's this?" So I see some guys with orangish red helmets on setting up something that looks like, some Boy Scout stuff. As I get closer, I see the decal on one of the containers, and it says FEMA. So my question is, why is FEMA setting up an emergency camp or practicing for setting up an emergency camp in the middle of Craig Ranch Regional Park? If you read what's on here, you can see clearly it says medical tent. That's kind of strange to me, but I don't know. It could just be nothing.
Man, ever since I was a young boy, this Wal-Mart has been closed. This used to be a Wal-Mart. Now I'm turning 32 in a couple of months. This Wal-Mart is still closed. It's been closed for damn near 20 years. I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. Okay, why leave a place closed for so long? Why not tear it down? Why not build a new business? Now look, this building is closed, but from every now and then, you'll see trucks pull up right here. Watch this. Every now and then, you'll see 18-wheelers pull up right there. If this place is closed, why the fuck are you trucks coming here? If the police ever come to your house and tell you to get in the bus with them, it's a state of emergency. Do not get in the fucking bus with them. This Walmart has been closed for damn near 20 years. Why not rebuild something? Why not tear it down? Closed Walmarts are going to be used for holding facilities. Sam Walton, the co-founder of Wal-Mart, was a former U.S. Naval intelligence officer. He was over the internment camps over the Japanese. And Walmart is merged with biometrics companies, man. They doing facial recognition. Every time you walk in the Wal-Mart store, you're being logged in the system. This Walmart has been closed for them in 20 years, man. I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. Why not tear it down? Why not rebuild something?
All right, so here we are at the Albany, California Target. Does this look like a department store to you? Oh, look at this, look at this. The only windows are in the front. You go around the side, it's just all iron. Giant slabs of metal. Look at this fence. Is this for the garden center? What is this fence? I don't know what are they trying to keep out of here? Look at this fence. What the? This is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Look at this. This is not a department store. There's no windows. Look at the side. Look at the side here. It's just like the whole just. Look at this. Look at this. Look, here's the train tracks right here. The train tracks right here. Train tracks. Targets. What is this cage for? This supposed to be for gardens there? Why is it empty? Why is there a little room in the middle for? It's not for the garden center. You got all these pipes. Valves. This is the most industrial, institutionalized, creepiest departments I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. It's fishy. Look at this thing. This does not look like a welcoming building to shop at. It looks like a goddamn transfer station or something before they send you to the internment camps. That's what it looks like. Straight up, there's the tower. Look, there's the offices.